When you ask the internet who the most selfish player in the history of the NBA is, you will often get just one answer: Ricky Davis. He refused to pass, purposefully missed a shot on his own hoop to improve his stats, and even got traded away from the Cleveland Cavaliers for an insane reason, because he thought that LeBron James was just going to be another addition on the team to help him score. Ricky was hated by almost every coach he played for, and it caused him to go from a 1998 NBA first-round draft pick that dominated the entire league to a player that nobody wanted. This is the story of Ricky Davis. Tyree Ricardo Davis, nicknamed Ricky, was born in Las Vegas, Nevada, before eventually moving to Iowa. Davis would then quickly become one of the highest ranked players in his state during his career at North High School in Davenport, Iowa. Ricky would not only make it onto their top team, the varsity squad, in just his freshman year, but Davis would commit to the Iowa Hawkeyes college program after just his second season in high school. The 6'6" center for North High would then carry his unit all the way to the Iowa State tournament in both his junior and senior years. And while the big man had ultimately failed to carry his Davenport side to a championship, one thing became clear: Ricky was a legit NBA prospect. A fact which only became clearer during his tenure with the Hawkeyes, because Davis would finally get to play a role more suited to his 6'6" frame and 42-inch vertical, with Iowa placing their potential professional athlete on the wing. Ricky, now that he was free from being stuck near the hoop, would go out and average a team-high 15 points during his freshman collegiate campaign. And while fans were stunned at just how good the rookie college athlete was, it was actually a decision Davis made towards the end of his initial year that truly shocked everyone. The Iowa native had decided to forego the remainder of his collegiate career and enter his name into the NBA draft. However, while Ricky and those around him believed in his talent, NBA scouts such as Marty Blake felt that Davis entering his name into the 1998 NBA draft was a joke, believing that the Hawkeye star, who just 12 months ago was playing center on his North High School squad, was nowhere near ready for the big leagues.
With the 21st pick in the 1998 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Ricky Davis from the University of Iowa.
Yet, upon his arrival into the NBA at just 19 years old, Ricky was struggling to adapt. Charlotte Hornets head coach Paul Silas had little to no interest in playing his 21st draft selection, mainly thanks to the current talent on his Charlotte side. Combine this with Davis's interest in trying to play the way he knew, which was free and without structure, the now ex-Hawkeye was beginning to feel lost in the professional world. However, the player who was starting over the Hornets rookie, Bobby Phills, an individual who had worked his way from being picked near the bottom of the 1991 draft to playing on multiple minor league teams to then making it onto the Cleveland Cavaliers and eventually finding himself a starting shooting guard role on the Hornets, would begin to mentor the young Ricky. Bobby,
if you ain't first, you're last.
I had to do that. I'm really sorry. Ricky Bobby is my favorite. Was one of the most beloved players in the league.
Well, I think that Bobby Phills was one of our really outstanding citizens in the town.
And would not only provide his youngster with on-the-court guidance, but also off-the-court advice, direction which all led up to one of the most shocking performances of Ricky's young career. May 5th, 1999, Davis would finally get the opportunity he had been working for his whole life, as Coach Silas allowed his rookie to play for a massive 40 minutes, a chance that Ricky ran with.
Ricky Davis has got a dozen here in the first half.
The Iowa standout would begin to highlight the raw talent that caused the Hornets to take a chance on the 19-year-old. Davis was rising up for vicious dunks.
Davis,
showcasing his silky smooth jump shot both in transition
to the head to Davis. Davis, who's been shooting lights out, still is.
And within Charlotte's offensive plays.
They're taking them in practice.
Davis.
Wow.
As well as knocking down both free throws late.
And this one should just about cinch it.
The dagger in what was a solid final victory for the Hornets. Yet, one thing was becoming very clear about Ricky Davis.
12 here in the second quarter, and here comes another three on one break, and Davis looks to take it all the way himself when he has two men open. Gets it back again and finishes.
But during the following 1999-2000 season, Ricky, thanks to his dominant performance in his rookie year, was receiving increased minutes from Coach Silas, allowing the now sophomore Hornet to put up multiple double-digit nights from the bench. However, on January 12th, 2000, Davis's world would flip upside down.
Before 11 o'clock this morning, 30-year-old Bobby Ray Fields died in a three-car collision about the 1500 block of West Highvola Road. Initial indications are that Mr. Fields was traveling at a very high rate of speed. His 1997 Porsche went out of control, crossed into the westbound lanes, and was struck in the driver's door area by another vehicle.
The man who was molding Charlotte's young and talented shooting guard had tragically lost his life. To make matters worse, Paul Silas would begin to severely reduce Ricky's minutes, as before the January incident, Davis was averaging 16 per game, but for the remainder of their season, Ricky Davis would only see the floor for roughly 7 minutes each night. Yet, this wasn't all, because not even for a single second during the Hornets' first-round playoff matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers did the former 1998 21st pick see the court, and promptly after their defeat at the hands of 76ers star Allen Iverson, Ricky was traded to the Miami Heat. However, Davis would break his foot during a preseason drill, and Ricky would run into yet another problem.
So Ricky Davis, my rookie season, he breaks his foot. The whole time he's supposed to be coming for treatment, right? He's not showing up to practice. He's not showing up before the games. He's just staying at home, right? And every day he's getting fined. He has no idea. So we're coming from a road game, and as we're going, he's like, hey guys, we're gonna take a little detour. We was like, oh, okay. He was like, we land, we don't know where we're going. So we get off, we're on the bus. We're in Atlantic City, right? So when we get off the bus, Ron Cope was the trainer. He's sitting there with an envelope. Here, guys, compliments of Ricky Davis. Everybody on the team got like $1,000 compliment of Ricky Davis.
Was Ricky there at that point?
No, had no idea.
So he still didn't know how
He didn't know until we got back. We was like, man, we was just in Atlantic City on you, man. You should have seen the big suites we was staying in. We all had big suites.
While Davis would eventually return, he only appeared in 7 games for the Heat and continued to produce the same measly numbers that he did during his tenure in Charlotte. The ex-Hornet would then once again be moved, this time to the Cleveland Cavaliers, where many thought the Iowa native's career would be coming to an end. Yet, the Cleveland Cavaliers head coach, John Lucas, a former #1 draft pick in the NBA, would begin to take a liking to Ricky, not seeing the image of selfishness that had been etched into Paul Silas's head, but rather his potential. Coach Lucas would no longer have Davis rotting away on the bench. No, John would play his talented guard for an average of 20 minutes per game, allowing Ricky to average 8.6 points on 8 shot attempts per contest. However, on February 2nd, 2001, everything began to change for the former first-round pick, as in a regular season matchup against the Detroit Pistons, Ricky began to heat up, slowly pouring in bucket after bucket, ending his night with an incredible 28 points. Therefore, John Lucas understood that his young shooting guard was much more than just potential, and in fact, he was ready for a much larger role. So, Ricky's minutes were increased from just 20 per game to 28.1, and his scoring average would follow, skyrocketing to 15.1 points per game. Yet, the fortunate news didn't end here for the ex-Heat guard, because Lamont Murray, the Cavs' starting shooting guard, would suffer a minor injury, an incident which thrusted his backup into Cleveland's starting lineup. Murray's absence would allow Ricky to fully showcase just how talented he was, as Davis would drop a brand new career high of 35 points against the defending NBA champions, the Los Angeles Lakers. But when Lamont returned, his backup's confidence was already sky high, allowing Ricky to drop 32 points against the Indiana Pacers. Ricky's insane, career-saving games to round out his initial season with the Cavaliers would see the former high school big man sign his first legit NBA contract, inking a 6-year, $34 million deal with Cleveland.
Rick, is there anything you want to say?
Glad I stayed in Cleveland.
And I'm glad that you're here watching this video, which, by the way, if you enjoy the content I create here at Out of Bounds, make sure you subscribe. That way, you never miss interesting stories like this one. Anyway, back to the video. Couple the signings of Ricky with the acquisitions of rising Clipper star Darius Miles, the drafting of a power forward filled with potential Carlos Boozer in the 2002 draft and Lamont Murray being sent away during the offseason to make room for Davis, Cleveland was going all in on their young stars. Yet, while those players believed it was because the organization wanted to see them shine, there was actually another reason. But Ricky, a now NBA starting shooting guard, wasn't worried. He just continued to be one of the league's most explosive scorers, setting a brand new career high of 45 points against the Milwaukee Bucks and scoring 42 twice against both the Boston Celtics and the Detroit Pistons. And remember, this was the early 2000s. Scoring was like at an all-time low. This is probably like dropping 70 points now, or not, I don't know. Yet, there was a glaring problem in Davis's game, one that would have him suspended by his head coach. You see, while Ricky was clearly a talented scorer, averaging 20.5 points per game, he did so by taking 18 shots on average each night.
No one has ever questioned the athletic ability of Ricky Davis. What they question is his understanding of the game, his willingness to share the basketball and play within a team concept that helps you to win games.
A me-first mindset, which would see Coach Lucas ban his shooting guard from playing 2 games during the season in order to try and correct it. However, Ricky was happy. All he was focused on was putting up the best numbers possible, a point only made more potent in another regular season game versus the Utah Jazz.
So one of my guys say, Rick, he yelled out about fourth quarter, 5 minutes left. Rick, you need one more rebound. All right, I'm going to go get it. So it's about 45 seconds left. I said, I got to get this rebound.
This is 1992. They're committed to helping you look, feel, live better. Find out more. Enterprises.com. They try to give himself a rebound. He needed a rebound for a triple-double.
Ricky, for the 5th time in his young career, was just a single rebound away from the elusive triple-double. So, of course, he just shot it at his own hoop, grabbed the rebound, and hoped that would work. It didn't. However, in spite of this hilarious moment, it was not only Davis who had achieved his lifelong dream, because the Cavaliers, with their horrendous 17-win and 65-loss record, had also achieved theirs.
That the first pick in the 2003 NBA draft goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
With LeBron James being from Akron, Ohio, I'm sure there has to be a lot of excitement in the organization.
You know, we don't know who we're going to pick yet.
With the first pick in the 2003 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select LeBron James.
Cleveland had done it. The greatest high school basketball player in the history of the game had landed on his hometown team.
Well, I think for the Cavs, I'm going to make an impact immediately because, I think our team couldn't get any worse than last year. So I'm just going to try to make the biggest impact that I can this year and try to get my teammates better every day and also myself. Yet, those currently on the Cavaliers weren't too excited about playing with the #1 pick.
We have better players than him in his position already on our team, bro. His potential is probably, the sky's the limit for him, though.
I don't think you can really just bring a high school player in and really just think your team gonna really turn around like that. If he come, you know what I'm saying, he can just hop on our bandwagon. And hopefully we can do something big.
And Ricky would share this.
Because I knew the young fella wasn't ready to, win us a championship. So I figured I'm going to just keep doing me. I really don't care who on the floor.
To make things even worse for the former Hornet, the Cavaliers had also hired his ex-head coach, Paul Silas, to steer Cleveland's ship in the right direction. However, despite his initial doubts of the dubbed Chosen One, it would actually be Davis who assisted LeBron in scoring his first ever field goal in the league, a night in which James would pour in 25 points, throw 9 assists, and pull down 6 rebounds. Yet, it was in the rookie's 3rd regular season appearance, LeBron's first game in which he struggled, only scoring 8 points, where things would start to unravel for Ricky.
Next thing you know, Paul Silas takes me out, and he's like, he take me out. I'm like, what's up, coach? He like, man, you got to stop kind of yelling at the young fella. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Next thing you know, I'm not in the game. I never go back in the game. That whole game, he didn't put me back in the game. I go back the next game, same thing, getting buckets. I think I came out, scored 15 points in the first quarter. He takes me out again. And I'm like, coach, what's going on? And he like, you keep yelling at the young fella. He said the same exact thing. So I sat down next to him. I said, so what you mean yelling at the young fella? What are you talking about? You can't cuss him out. I'm like, Coach, what are you talking about?
But it wasn't just Coach Silas who shared doubts that Ricky Davis couldn't play alongside the future of their franchise, as well as help mold LeBron into being the face of the NBA, because Davis was suspended for 2 games because of his unwillingness to work with James.
We call a meeting, he like, Rick, they decided they want to try to suspend you for a game or 2. So I'm like, what? What you mean? For what? Like, for what? Like, what you mean? Like, now I'm really tripping. Like, what you mean? Suspend me? They like, you being detrimental to the team. You've been cussing LeBron out. They say you've been cussing LeBron out. Man, they go get LeBron. LeBron don't even know this going on here. Man, look, I say, hold on, Bron. They say I just interrupted Bron. They say I cussed you out. He said, huh? You ain't never cussed me out. I said, they keep saying I cussed you out and I'm yelling at you or something like that. He said, you ain't cussed me out. I don't know what they talking about. I got up and left.
Therefore, the Cavs would ultimately move on from Ricky. His attitude towards LeBron devastated Cleveland's front office, as they had hoped the pair would become a deadly 1-2 punch. But Davis was unwilling to be the second hook, so he was traded to the Boston Celtics. Yet, the now ex-Cavalier would share his true feelings regarding the situation upon arrival in Massachusetts, saying, I feel it was supposed to be a 1-2 punch in Cleveland. I was establishing myself with the team last year, and I thought LeBron was just going to be another addition to the team, helping me score. I guess it was different. But despite being moved away from the franchise who took a chance on him, Ricky Davis was ecstatic to be playing with a multiple-time All-Star in Paul Pierce.
Suck it up and to play behind a rookie, you know, that's now the greatest guy in the game. For me, I just couldn't do it at that moment. You know, now if it would have been somewhere where LeBron is old and he's established and this and that, now I'm going to play and rock with the guy all day, you know, but I would rather go get traded over here and play with Paul Pierce. Somebody's established, somebody I know we trying to win a championship, somebody that knows the culture. What we want.
And their head coach, Jim O'Brien, would discover something shocking about his new shooting guard. Because Coach O'Brien, who had only heard negative things about Ricky, was stunned to see how opposite the now Celtic really was, sharing that he thought Davis was coachable and the ex-Cav would continue his dominance, albeit this time off the bench, by dropping 32 points against the Sacramento Kings. Not only was the Iowa native thriving in his new situation, the Celtics, thanks to the incredibly weak Eastern Conference, had somehow made it into the playoffs despite only winning 36 games. Ricky Davis would finally get his chance to play in the postseason, an opportunity he grabbed. As, in spite of Boston getting destroyed by their opponent, the Indiana Pacers, in a 4-game sweep, Ricky had averaged 14.1 points. Things were finally heading in the right direction for Ricky Davis. Doc Rivers, the former head coach of the Orlando Magic, who had been fired after a horrid start to the 2003-2004 season, was brought in by new team president Danny Ainge in order to lead the Celtics to new heights in the 2004-2005 season. Rivers' hiring, combined with the signing of veteran point guard Gary Payton, who had been to the NBA Finals in 1996, plus the work ethic and coachability of Ricky.
I think we got a feel on, you know, what he wants and what he wants us to do. So, guys, just go out there and play hard and you know, execute everything he wants to be executed. Got a chance to win.
Boston would continue to rise. Whilst Davis had become far more willing to play within the offensive system of Rivers, there was still the occasional moment where Ricky Davis came to shine. For example, on this play where he missed a between-the-legs dunk on a fast break, only to then get the rebound and windmill it back in. I can't even do this on a mini-hoop. And his game winner versus the Memphis Grizzlies, a shot which the ex-Hornet didn't let Coach Doc stop hearing about. As the season was coming to a close, Ricky's willingness to play second fiddle to Paul Pierce and use his talents within Boston's game plan, Davis would be acknowledged by the league for his incredible growth by finishing second in Sixth Man of the Year voting. However, it would be in Game 6 of their first-round playoff matchup against the Indiana Pacers when the Celtics would need their second punch the most, as despite winning the initial game, a night in which Ricky had 13 points, the Pacers had crucially taken the Game 5 victory, placing them just a single win away from moving on to the second round. The Celtics needed someone to step up. So, Ricky Davis, the 6'6" guard who oozed confidence, would begin to slowly take over this must-win matchup. The 1998 first-round pick would expertly choose his spots, no longer trying to take the game over, and instead allowing it to come to him. A refreshed mindset which would allow the Boston guard to score a vital 22 points, a performance that kept Boston's playoff dreams alive. However, in Game 7, Davis, alongside the rest of his Celtics, would falter, and it was once again Indiana for the third season in a row sending Boston packing. But Ricky was just happy to have been able to make a meaningful impact on a team with championship aspirations, something he was excited to keep doing in the 2005-2006 season. To make things even better for Davis, Coach Rivers would elevate his bench guard into the starting lineup, an opportunity Ricky was super thankful for, repaying Doc's trust by averaging just under 20 points, a statistic comprising of 4 30-plus point games, as well as averaging 5.3 assists each night. However, elsewhere in Minneapolis, trouble was brewing. Kevin Garnett, the 2004 NBA Most Valuable Player and Minnesota Timberwolves superstar power forward,
sitting in the house, I'm loading up the pump, I'm loading up the Uzi, I got a couple of M16s, a couple 9s, I got a couple joints with some silencers on them, I'm just loading up clips, a couple grenades, got a missile launcher with a couple, missiles. I'm ready for war.
Was no longer comfortable with playing alongside his teammate Wally Szczerbiak. Garnett, given that he was the Wolves franchise player, was never going to be shipped away, and due to his frustrations with the team's inability to build a roster around him good enough to get them back to their 2004 form.
These are tears of pain. Tears of pride, too. A lot of pride. It's eating me up.
As well as the team failing to fill Latrell Sprewell, an athletic wing scorer's shoes after he left their team, the Wolves front office realized a move had to get made. Therefore, Wally, I'm not going to try and say his last name again, guys, I'm sorry, was moved to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Ricky Davis halfway through the 2005-2006 season. While most would be upset with this sudden change, the now ex-Celtic was excited to play alongside someone of Garnett's caliber, and it was KG who made him understand something about himself.
I thought I was working hard till I met KG, and when I met KG, my work ethic just went out the roof.
But while Ricky had been moved to Boston to help bring more scoring, this trade to Minnesota was simply done to keep their superstar happy, and the Wolves' lackluster season only continued. Combine the team's struggles with Davis's numbers decreasing, mainly due to playing in a different offensive system focused on playing slower and through the dominant Garnett, Minnesota would yet again fail to come close to the postseason. However, Ricky, yet again, was just happy to still have an NBA contract and to be playing the sport he loved. In fact, during the following 2006-2007 season, the athletic guard would begin to fall in love with the city of Minnesota and relish his role, in spite of playing on a losing team. Davis would average 17 points, 4.8 assists, and shoot just shy of 40% from 3, averages that were bolstered by an insane performance against the Orlando Magic. The Iowa native would not only score 36 points, but 13 of those were all in a row, and the last 3 were the game-winning bucket.
For a moment, Ricky playing catch with KG. Davis for 3, he's got it! Ricky Davis!
Yet, Minneapolis' NBA franchise would continue to be one of the worst in the league, only winning 32 games whilst losing 50. Therefore, the Wolves would decide to blow their roster up. Kevin Garnett was sent to the Boston Celtics and Ricky Davis back to the Miami Heat. Regretful for the way he had treated the 21-year-old Davis during his initial tenure with the team, Pat Riley was excited to see his former player return to the franchise, and Ricky was ecstatic to yet again be playing with not just one, but 2 superstars, 2006 NBA championship winning Dwyane Wade and Shaquille O'Neal. In order to make up for his mistakes, Riley, who was now the team's head coach, took an immediate liking to his new guard.
It's great.
once you're around him, you wouldn't want to leave. He understands the game, he teaches the game, and he breaks it down to the perspective to where you don't get lost and you understand what you're doing out there on the court.
Coaching, which would truly help Ricky to dominate within a team style of play, as Davis would shoot a very impressive 40% from 3, an average made up from nights such as their matchup against the Washington Wizards, a contest in which the former Hawkeye would not only score 33 points, but also drop in a shocking 9 threes, an honestly pretty impressive feat for the late 2000s. But this wasn't all, because Davis was now understanding exactly when to utilize his God-given talent of being able to find the bottom of the net. Ricky would now sprinkle in isolations when needed, but ultimately would do so by playing within Miami's game plan. Yet, Ricky's rise was just about the only positive for the Heat. Firstly, their star power forward, Alonzo Mourning, would suffer a career-ending knee injury to start the season. Secondly, Dwyane Wade would not only miss the start of the year recovering from shoulder surgery, but also miss the end of the season to have surgery on his injured knee. And finally, but most damaging, was the failing relationship between Pat Riley and Shaquille O'Neal.
We've got some breaking news concerning the Miami Heat, concerning Shaq. Is he going to go or stay?
He is not only going to go, he is gone. It is official, Shaq traded to Phoenix.
Not only had they lost their superstar big man, talented power forward, and finals MVP shooting guard D Wade, but O'Neal would share that he was happy to be playing with professionals in Phoenix, and no longer next to players like Ricky Davis. Without any of their top talent, Miami, much like the Cavaliers all those years ago, would finish with a league worst 15-win and 67-loss record. But this was just the start of the end for Davis. Because despite signing with the Los Angeles Clippers in free agency, Ricky's body, mainly thanks to his insane aerial acrobatics, was starting to break down on him. The former Celtic would, for the first time in his career, miss long stretches of their season due to injury. After the conclusion of the 2009-2010 season, the end of Davis's 2-year contract with the Clippers, Ricky would become a free agent. Yet, the 12-year NBA veteran would never give up on his dream, playing in the NBA Developmental League, as well as spending time overseas.
It's just a matter of, coming out, being healthy, and, trying to get back to that dream.
While Ricky would eventually prove to be a legit NBA-level shooting guard, someone who was not only capable of playing within a system, providing floor spacing for superstars, but being that second option next to someone like Paul Pierce or Kevin Garnett, one question will always remain, because LeBron, who managed to carry his Cavaliers to the 2007 NBA Finals, never truly had a legit second option. While he did pair well with players like Zydrunas Ilgauskas, defenses could simply hone in on the Ohio native in the playoffs, which meant that James had to leave for Miami in order to win his first championship in 2012. Therefore, many wonder, including myself, if Ricky had been willing to work with LeBron the same way he had with Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Dwyane Wade, would we be talking about Davis as an NBA championship winner? What do you think about that thought? Also, speaking of LeBron James, did you know that one of his teammates, Kyrie Irving, was the greatest ball handler in the history of the NBA? In fact, Kyrie is so elite at handling the basketball that it seems physically impossible that he would ever lose it. But how did Irving develop this unique skill? And what makes him such an elite dribbler? To find out, click the video on your screen right now.